What if I told you that Megumi Fushiguro was designed to fail from the very beginning? Not because he's weak, not because he lacks potential, but because the entire Jujutsu Kaisen narrative has been setting him up as the perfect vessel for tragedy. While everyone debates whether he's stronger than Yuji, or if his technique is truly special grade level, they're missing the real story. Megumi isn't just another deuteragonist with daddy issues, he's the linchpin of a cosmic horror story, orchestrated by the most manipulative sorcerer in history, and his role in this series goes far deeper than most fans realize. Megumi Fushiguro serves as one of the three central pillars of Jujutsu Kaisen, alongside Yuji Itadori and Nobara Kugisaki. But unlike his companions, Megumi's significance extends beyond his abilities as a sorcerer. He represents the inherited burden of Jujutsu society, the corrupting influence of potential, and ultimately the question of whether selflessness can survive in a world built on sacrifice. His Ten Shadows technique isn't just powerful. It's historically significant, rivaling even the Gojo family's techniques in legendary status. And that significance is precisely what has made him a target since before he was even born. Let's establish something crucial right now. This script will contain major manga spoilers, including events from the Culling Game arc and the Shinjuku Showdown. If you're anime only and want to experience these moments fresh, this is your warning. But if you want to understand why Megumi's role is absolutely essential to the entire structure of Jujutsu Kaisen, keep watching, because what Gege Akutami has done with this character is nothing short of masterful tragedy. Megumi's story begins with abandonment. Toji Fushiguro, the infamous sorcerer killer, sold his son to the Zenin clan before Megumi even manifested his technique. Think about that. His father commodified him based on potential alone. This sets up the central irony of Megumi's existence. Everyone around him sees limitless potential, but Megumi himself has spent his entire life trying not to reach it. Where Gojo constantly pushes him to be selfish, to grasp for more power, Megumi retreats into a philosophy of measured sacrifice. He'll save people he deems worthy. He'll fight to protect those irregular few he cares about. But he won't go all out, because going all out means risking everything. And Megumi has internalized that his life is a resource to be carefully managed, not a story to be written boldly. This brings us to the Ten Shadows technique itself. On the surface, it's a versatile Shikigami summoning ability that allows Megumi to call upon 10 different divine beasts. But the technique's true horror lies in its ultimate shadow, Mahoraga, the Shikigami that has never been tamed in the technique's entire history. To even attempt taming Mahoraga is to accept mutual destruction as the most likely outcome. It's a suicide button disguised as a trump card. And Megumi has used it that way, multiple times, most notably against the special grade curse at the Yasuhachi Bridge. He was willing to kill himself and his enemy rather than find another path forward. That's not strategy. That's despair, wearing the mask of tactics. Gojo recognized this self-destructive tendency immediately. When he took Megumi in, he wasn't just saving a kid from the Zenin clan. He was investing in someone he believed could stand beside him at the top of Jujutsu society. But Gojo's teaching method, his constant provocation for Megumi to be greedier, to want more, fundamentally misunderstood what Megumi needed. Megumi didn't need permission to be selfish. He needed a reason to believe his life had value beyond its utility to others. And that's a lesson Gojo, born with infinite power and infinite privilege, could never truly teach. The Shibuya incident marked the turning point where Megumi's potential became his curse. After awakening an incomplete domain expansion and pushing himself further than ever before, Megumi stood on the precipice of true first-grade sorcerer status. He'd grown, he'd adapted, he'd survived impossible odds. But Shibuya also revealed the truth. The Jujutsu world doesn't reward growth, it devours it. Gojo was sealed, Nanami died, Nobara fell, and Megumi, despite all his potential, couldn't prevent any of it. The message was clear. Potential means nothing against a rigged game. Then came Sukuna's interest, and this is where Megumi's role shifts from tragic hero to cosmic pawn. Sukuna didn't choose Megumi randomly. He specifically orchestrated events to claim Megumi's body because the Ten Shadows technique gave him something even Sukuna's overwhelming cursed energy couldn't achieve alone: adaptability incarnate through Mahoraga. By taking Megumi as a vessel, Sukuna gained access to the one ability that could potentially counter Gojo Satoru's limitless technique. Think about the calculated cruelty of that. Megumi spent his entire life in Gojo's shadow, being compared to him, being told he could reach that height. And in the end, his body became the weapon that killed his teacher. But here's what makes Megumi's possession so narratively brilliant. It's not just about Sukuna getting a power boost, it's about the complete inversion of everything Megumi represented. Where Megumi held back, Sukuna pushes forward with absolute ruthlessness. Where Megumi protected the few he loved, Sukuna uses those bonds as psychological torture. Sukuna forces Megumi's body to kill his sister Tsumiki, the one person Megumi's entire moral framework was built around protecting. It's violation on a metaphysical level. Megumi's selflessness, his restraint, his carefully managed potential, all of it gets weaponized into its opposite. The culling game and subsequent arcs have shown us Megumi's consciousness, trapped while Sukuna pilots his flesh. Other characters fight to save him, but there's a haunting question underneath all of it. Does Megumi even want to be saved at this point? After being forced to kill Tsumiki, after watching his body be used to slaughter thousands, after becoming the thing he spent his life trying to avoid, complete unbridled destructive potential, what does Megumi have to come back to? This is where his role transcends typical shonen narrative. He's not the rival who gets stronger to catch up with the protagonist. He's the cautionary tale about what happens when potential becomes burden, when society's expectations crush individuality, when selflessness is exploited by selfishness. Yuji's desperate attempts to reach Megumi, to pull him back from the abyss, represent the emotional core of Jujutsu Kaisen's final act. These two characters have been mirrors from the start. Both inherited curses they didn't ask for. Both carry the weight of deaths they couldn't prevent. But where Yuji continues to affirm life despite impossible suffering, Megumi has always flirted with the idea that some sacrifices are necessary, that some losses are acceptable. Now, he's being forced to live out the ultimate conclusion of that philosophy. If sacrifice is noble, if restraint is wise, then isn't disappearing into nothingness while a monster wears your skin just another form of martyrdom? Looking forward, Megumi's fate will likely determine the thematic resolution of the entire series. If he's saved, if he reclaims his body and his agency, it suggests that the cycle can be broken, that the next generation doesn't have to be sacrificed for the sins of the previous one. But if Megumi dies, or worse, if he chooses to remain submerged in his own consciousness because the guilt is too overwhelming, then Jujutsu Kaisen is confirming its darkest premise, that the Jujutsu world is an incurable disease that consumes everyone who enters it, and potential is just another word for a longer, more painful death. There's also the unresolved question of Megumi's incomplete domain expansion and what it could become. Domain expansions represent the soul of a sorcerer given form. What would Megumi's complete domain look like after everything he's endured? Would it still be the shadow garden of his earlier attempts, or would it transform into something that reflects his trauma, his violation, his loss? If he does return, he won't be the same Megumi who entered Shibuya. The question is whether what emerges will be stronger or simply more broken. Megumi Fushiguro's role in Jujutsu Kaisen is to embody the cost of a broken system. He's the talented child ground down by expectation, the selfless soul punished for his restraint, the vessel chosen specifically because his virtues could be corrupted into weapons. He's not the hero who saves the day through determination and friendship. He's the sacrifice that asks whether any of this was ever worth it. And in a series that has consistently refused easy answers, that's exactly the role the story needs. The real question isn't whether Megumi will be saved, it's whether salvation even means anything in a world that creates tragedies like his in the first place.